What is up, everyone? Movie back again with another collaboration video. And today I've got my good friend Bryn on the channel from over at Horror Hands. And we're going to be talking about, well, some horror films, of course. Now, I just want to say, before we get into it, Bryn, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Thank you for having me on. Really excited. Yeah, doing fine, and looking forward to talking about some horror movies with you.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Now, one of my subscribers, Mark Jones, asked us just over around Christmas time if we could do a collab together because he thinks it'd be great. So, Mark, if you are watching, I hope you enjoy this video, mate. We're finally doing a collab. Wanted to collab with Bryn for a while now. Um, First of all, Bryn, before we get into the video and stuff, do you want to just tell everyone about your channel and what you do over there?
Yeah, so my channel is Horror Hands. So I talk about everything horror movie related. So each month I show the movies that I'm buying, talk about them, let them know what they like, and then I do sort of countdown videos and different kind of theme videos around horror films and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of top tens and stuff as well.
Yeah,
There was a good one the other day. Top 10 standalone horror films which don't
yeah,
have sequels or remakes, and I thought that was a really clever list to make, actually. But I just want to say, mate, I'm a massive fan of your channel. I think you were one of my very first subscribers. I think you subscribed to me when I was on like 90 or something, and before I even hit 100. And since then, I haven't stopped watching your videos, mate. I try and watch all of them if I can.
oh,
Um, it's a You are the horror expert, mate. I thought I knew horror, and not to pressure you too much going into this video, but I don't know anything about horror compared to you.
oh no,
There's a
you
lot of
do.
films over there. Sorry, Bryn, what was that?
I say you do all right. Don't worry. You've got some good films yourself. So yeah, I'll get some good recommendations from you as well. So it's all good.
Cheers, mate. Speaking of recommendations, the amount of films that you come out with and I have never heard of and want to watch, it's just you. I didn't even know there was that many horror films out there. And lastly, I would say, I was speaking to my sister the other day, and she started watching all these YouTubers and movie YouTubers who are in the community. And I said, "Who are your favourite ones?" And one of the first ones she said was you, out of the hand she picked. So
Oh,
you've got a bit of a fan there. My sister's a bit of a fan, mate.
thank you. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, well, I just asked Bryn to pick his top 5 horror movies. Are these your top 5 horror movies, would you say, Bryn?
Pretty much, yeah. My top five. It kind of shifts around quite a bit. Like just sometimes it'll change, but these are pretty much my top five. Yeah, favorite that immediately come to mind.
Yeah, and it's a solid top 5.
Yeah,
I've picked 5 as well, and we're just going to do it like usual. We usually stick to 10 films in these videos because we like to go in about 5 or 10 minutes on each film. And if we do any more, the video will go on all night. But yeah, we'll just get into it now. We are gonna talk spoilers here from time to time. I have put a clip at the start of the video saying there will be spoilers ahead anyway. So don't worry, Bryn. If you want to talk spoilers about these movies, you can
yeah.
do.
All right.
And I'm gonna go from 5 to 1. So the last movie I mentioned will probably be my favorite horror film of all time.
Yeah.
Now these are like the top 5 that I think are the top 5 best horror films, basically. So it's kind of got the same list there. And do you want to just get into it, Bryn? Then should we just go on with the first movie?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Right. The first film I've picked is Halloween by John Carpenter. Recently watched this in October. I watch it every October, every Halloween. And this is a movie for me that gets better and better on rewatch. I always notice little things here and there that just make the movie a little bit better for me. And I just I think it's a very well paced, put together movie. It's very, very simple but effective. And everything that John Carpenter does in this movie just works for me. Now, I've got a few other things to say on this and stuff, but Bryn, are you a fan of Halloween?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, it's a great choice. One of the best slasher movies of all time. Like you say, I love the simplicity of it, but how effective it is, and the little things, the little nuances that John Carpenter creates, and the music as well. How good is the music in Halloween?
I have to write down the music because John Carpenter always just comes up with these amazing, simple scores, but work just so well.
Yeah.
The theme tune, it just gets me every time. It's fantastic. And you mentioned it's a slasher there. Now, I remember some guy on Twitter, he just used to say all the time that it's not a slasher movie, but it did start slasher films.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree with that. It's about a guy going around killing babysitters.
Yeah.
To me, it is a slasher film.
Yeah.
And I think it is the best slasher film ever, in my opinion. One of the first, but it did start the subgenre, if you like. A lot of people might say it's psycho, but I think this is definitely more what you get from slasher movies. Just you'll see a kill and then another 20 minutes, another kill and stuff. And I just think this was really well done, and it did start a massive craze, especially in the 80s. I know this is a 70s movie, but we were talking about how simple this film is and stuff. And John Carpenter, I don't think there was much budget gone into this film, to be honest. And the mask that Michael Myers wears here is just a William Shatner mask, I believe, that they just found in a costume shop.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows horror now will look at it and just go, wow, look at that Michael Myers mask. It's just so iconic and stuff.
It is.
What do you think of Michael Myers as a horror villain then?
Oh, I think he's one of the best. Very iconic. Again, it's that like simple but scary look. You know, that white mask and like the dark eyes and the heavy breathing that you hear. It's just like, it's really scary, but he does nothing. He does nothing to like be scary. He walks around slowly. He doesn't talk. But that kind of that lack of emotion and things like that is just really scary. So I think he's one of the best horror icons. Is like that Michael Myers face. You just instantly recognize it, and very iconic.
I think you touched on a good point there where he doesn't show any emotion at all, because no matter if he's walking around or putting a knife through someone, he's showing the exact same emotion. It's there's nothing. And I think Donald Pleasance even says it in the movie. There's the devil's eyes, because it's not in there. There's just nothingness. I think it's a really good start to the movie as well, where obviously he's a young boy and it's all from a first person point of view. I thought that was really clever.
Creepy as well.
Yeah, and some of the direction apart from that, with John Carpenter takes with, the way he's just walking around behind bushes and stuff. The moment where Laurie Strode looks out the window and he's there, and then she looks at him and he's not. The young boy who drops the pumpkin, I think, and runs into Mike Myers. It just worked so well. The direction is so good. It just worked, especially for the time. But really, really creepy film. And is there any favourite moments of this one of yours, Bryn? Now, I've got one to say, but I was just wondering if you got any favourite personal scenes in this, or.
I really like Donald Pleasance's dialogue throughout the film when he's describing, when he's like, I met this 6-year-old child, and like you say, the devil's eyes line. I thought that was really good, and I thought Donald Pleasance and his line delivery kind of elevated Halloween to a little bit more than just kind of like the standard trashy slasher movie. So any of those lines with Donald Pleasance, and he's talking about when he met Michael Myers and why he's so evil, I thought that was really effective.
Yeah, I think he's a great character in this. There's a moment that I always laugh at in this film, actually. I mean, they're great dialogue, what he comes up with there is describing Michael and stuff, but there's a moment in this film, and I always laugh at it, where the young kids, Lonnie, I think his name is knocking at the house. He pops up behind the bushes and says, "Get your ass away." And then there's a big look on his face like he's achieved something. He's just like...
Smiling, that's a great moment.
But my favourite moment, probably of the whole film, is actually the ending, because when you think Michael Myers is sort of just this other human, and he is really, but when it goes into the later films, he's much, much more than that. He's like more of a monster, isn't he? And it shows at the very end of this film where you look over the balcony and he's not there. The music kicks in, it just fills all the of Haddonfield, and there's nothing there, and you're like, where is he gone? I think that's perfect ending. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with it. Yeah, it's a really, really, really good ending, and it's really it's really scary. And I think John Carpenter said the final shots when it shows different locations and you can hear Michael's breathing. I think he wanted to say that not only was Michael gone, but he was everywhere, which I think was a really creepy way to end the movie. So yeah, very unsettling.
Yeah. I don't know if there's much more to say on it. I mean, but what is there any? Are you a fan of this franchise as a whole, or are you just liking the first one?
Yeah, I am a fan of the franchise. I like pretty much all the movies. I'm on the fence with Halloween 3. I still don't know after all these years whether I like it or not. But the Michael Myers Halloween films, I'm a big fan of them, and I particularly loved the 2018 version, which kind of caught me by surprise. I thought that was excellent. So yeah, big fan of the whole franchise.
And of course, we've got Halloween Kills to come. Are you excited?
I am. Yeah, I think it was you that made me aware of that on your channel. I wasn't. I didn't know they were making it or that it would got that title. It was your channel that made me aware. So yeah, ever since then, I've been looking forward to that. I think it's been put back quite a bit, hasn't it? But hopefully, we'll get to see it soon.
Yeah, I think we were meant to get it in October. Now it's next October.
Right.
There's actually one coming as well. They're making two, aren't they? Halloween Ends is going to be the third one. So it's going to be like a new little trilogy there.
Yeah.
I hope it's not like a filler film just to jump to the last one. But one thing I will just ask you on this, Bryn, I'm a bit, I might think different to you here. What do you think of the whole Laurie Strode and Michael storyline that we've got now? Do you think it's time to end that, or do you like it?
I like it personally. I think that's kind of one of the foundations that makes Halloween, kind of that relationship between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. So personally, I don't have a problem with them continuing that and revisiting it. I think it's a strong element to keep building on, really.
Yeah. Fair enough, mate. I know Laurie Strode is a beloved character in the Halloween franchise among Halloween fans, but I just think maybe it's time to pass the baton a little bit now. And I think it might have had a more effective end than the Halloween 2018 one if she maybe sort of pulled him into the fire or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the others went together, but that would have been a bit of a horrible death for Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been cool, and I don't think it wouldn't be a bad thing to focus on someone else at the same time. So it's either way would work. I think so long as they kind of capture that Halloween spirit, that tends to work for me, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Not to stay too long on the new Halloween film coming, but there's one moment I noticed in the trailer where it's in a hospital, just for 1 second there. And I thought, are they going to go in the Halloween 2 direction by letting it take place in a hospital? I think that'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Well, that is Halloween. Anything else to say on Halloween, Bryn?
No, I think we covered everything there. Just, great film, great slasher movie. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, so do you want to go on to your first pick? This is your fifth movie, and you're going down to number 1, aren't you? So what's your fifth place there, Bryn?
So my number 5 pick is Zombie, aka Zombie Flesh Eaters. Lucio Fulci's gore-filled zombie classic. This one's on my list because I discovered this at quite a young age, really. I've told the story before, but I found this like big box VHS that my dad had in this cupboard, and I didn't really know what it was at the time, but it looked different from anything that I'd seen at the time. And I think my dad, he said, "Oh, it's a video nasty. It's banned in this country," and that was mind blowing at the time. I couldn't quite register what this meant, and it just looked like such a cool film.
Yeah.
And I remember my younger self watching it and just sort of thinking, I've got to check this film out, and it didn't disappoint. And I think it is very trashy and very gory, but I think it's such a well-made zombie film. Lucio Fulci, he really nailed that zombie genre. The zombies look fantastic. The gore is amazing. I like the story of how it takes place on that island, and I think voodoo curse is making the dead come back to life, and Richard Johnson's trying to stop it. It's just a really, really good kind of example of gruesome exploitation filmmaking, but done really well. So that's why it's my number 5.
Yeah. I did watch this week in preparation for this video, but I've got a little story myself there. That is, your dad sounds awesome, by the way.
Thank
He's
you.
on a few of your videos. He's great. But I've got a little story about this as well. It is a video nasty, and you couldn't really get it in the UK, I believe, because so that video nasty list is very infamous, isn't it? I mean, there's some movies on there now. You look at it and go, "Was that really on there?"
Yeah.
But my nan used to babysit me and my sister when we were really young, and she used to bring Dawn of the Dead and Zombie Flesh Eaters, and we used to sit there every time she babysat us and watched either one of them, and they're my memories of it. I don't know how my nan had hold of this movie, but
Yeah.
she had. Yeah, and I just that's my personal memories of it. And when Arrow brought it to Blu-ray, I just snapped at the chance because
Yeah.
I had a nostalgia for the movie. Because of them, when I used to watch it with my nan when she babysat us, and I always remember it being very, very retro. Like, I think this is it. I always find this hard to explain, but it sort of defines sort of the retro zombie style movie that
Yeah.
you used to get. Do you know what I mean by that? I mean, like,
Yeah. I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's sort of zombies are sort of looked at today of like the way you look at them, the sort of like old style stuff and very 80s and stuff like that. And I just think that this movie sort of define that. It's a bit of a hard one to explain, but you sort of know what I'm getting at there.
Yeah.
A big part of that movie for me is the music. Now, I remember watching this the other day, and the music plays from 90% of the film or 80% of it. And it's got two different real scores there. One's like a retro zombie 80s style, and the other one's like an African voodoo thing that's playing throughout the movie. But it works. It works so well. It never comes off as annoying. It just fits what happens on screen.
Yeah, it does.
Do you agree with that? Do you think the music's a good part of this movie?
Yeah, absolutely, and especially that that opening theme music, that quite like plodding theme that he uses. I think it like if music could describe a zombie, that opening theme is the perfect example of that slow lumbering zombie making its way towards you. It's summed up in that music perfectly. So yeah, I totally agree with what you say there.
Yeah. But you said as well the gore and the look of the zombies as well. That's one thing that stood out for me. I thought they looked great, even for this old type movie. I mean, there's another zombie film, Dawn of the Dead, but I think the zombies in this look way better than that film, even though that's well thought of and stuff. But yeah, it's just a very well. The makeup design, the costume design, everything's great, and I love the location of the island, like yourself, very secluded. And at the end of the movie, we do see it sort of expand, you know, New York and stuff. But it does happen at the start as well on that little boat and stuff. But I think some of the jump scares work here really well as well. I mean, back in the day, I think a lot of people would have been terrified when the first zombie jumps out of the boat and it comes out of nowhere on the door. And there's other moments with just like the hand just, straight behind the character there. I think it's the female character in the cemetery and the zombies just behind her out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It worked for me. It all worked. And it is a little bit dated watching it, but it didn't feel dated, if you get me. I mean, the stuff feels dated, but it's still very, very watchable today, I feel. I don't think it'll be the last time I ever revisit this film. I'll definitely go back to it. I had such a good time with it. Do you agree with that? Do you think it's still watchable today and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, kind of like zombie films shouldn't really be like sort of glossy or kind of nice looking. And I really like that zombie flesh eaters, like the zombies themselves in the movie, it's quite grimy and quite dirty looking. And I think that kind of that suits the look of this film, and like the zombie genre itself, it should be a bit more grimier. And this film is one of the best examples of that. So yeah, I think it's still very watchable now, and it still packs a punch and holds its own against newer films as well.
Yeah, that sort of describes what I was trying to say earlier. And the look at these zombie films is what zombie films should be like.
Yeah.
The way better. I mean, I do like the likes of Zombieland and stuff like that, even though it's a horror comedy. But the zombies, they look too clean. I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
And these ones have got like centipedes in their eye and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Another thing that stood out for me in this film was the characters. I really liked all 4 main characters there, especially the main lead. What did you say his name was? He'd done an introduction on the film, by the way, saying, he didn't watch it for like 20 years after it was made.
Yeah.
When Arrow done their version, he watched it. What was his name? Can you remember?
Ian McCulloch.
Ian McCulloch,
Yeah.
I thought he was great in the movie.
Yeah.
I really liked him. Yeah.
He was very good. He brings a Britishness to the role, which I think works quite well as well.
Yeah, that is just the thing that surprised me. Actually, I thought all the acting was pretty decent. I don't think anyone was doing a bad job, and you sort of expect that from these type of 80s zombie. I don't know if it's low budget, but movies. But I enjoyed all the characters. Thought they all done a good job, all the acting and everything. I really enjoyed it, and the last scene, really, I thought that was really clever. The way the zombies are just walking across the bridge.
Yeah, that is really good. I thought that was really scary as a kid as well, because when you kind of watch it, it kind of all takes place on this like tropical island, which seems like a million miles away, and it doesn't quite resonate as much. And then that last scene where the zombies are coming into the city, into like the civilized world, I thought was a really good touch. And it's like, oh, they're here now. So that was really kind of a scary concept and a scary way to end the movie.
Yeah. Another sort of scary scene. I don't know if it's scary now, but it probably was back in the day, where she says someone's in the village and they attacked someone, and then it just pans around this zombie that stood in the middle of this village, and it looks so good. I just thought it's gonna kick off here, like. But,
yeah.
Really, really well made film. I actually love the zombies coming out the ground as well, really slowly and stuff. That all works for me.
Yeah.
It might work for some people, but it works for the likes of me and you, I think.
Yeah, well, I was thinking there's not that many zombie films where you actually see them coming out of the ground, like out the grave. They're kind of already, when the movie starts, they're kind of here. And that's one of the movies that does it, and it does it really well. Like, they literally come out of the grave, like out of the mud covered in worms and everything like that. So that was a really cool scene.
Yeah. I've got to mention this part as well. It was my favourite part of the whole movie. The shark fight scene with the zombie.
Yeah, zombie versus shark. Yeah, how could you not mention that? Yeah.
It's just, she's getting attacked, sort of hiding from the shark, and then there's a zombie down there as well. It's like, oh my god, the next minute they're both having a fight. Sounds ridiculous, but it works. It works. Yeah. Everything works in this film for me. What did you think of that scene? Did you enjoy? Do you enjoy that part still?
Oh yeah, that's an amazing scene, and like you say, it works, and it looks surprisingly good. Like this guy in zombie makeup fighting a shark, and his makeup stays on somehow, and I think the shark even bites his arm off, and that looks good. It's a really well done scene.
I don't know if he was, but he must have been holding on to a real shark there, because I was looking for a fake shark from the angles and stuff, and I couldn't see it.
It's a real tiger shark, and I believe they hired an actor to play the zombie who attacks the shark, but he, I guess, understandably, he was too scared to get in the water and do it. So it's actually it's the professional shark handler who brought the shark along. They put the makeup on him, and he started wrestling around with it himself. So that's how they did it.
I thought you might come out with a fun fact like that on at least one of these films, Bryn, so it's good to know that. All right, should we anything else to say on zombie flesh eaters, Bryn, or should we move on?
No, I think once you've covered the zombie versus shark, there's not much else to. What else do you say about it?
And just lastly, I know it's got a different title every year, but Zombie Flesh Eaters, what a title for a film that is.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, staying on the zombie genre now, Bryn, I'm going to go with my zombie pick. I do think this is, personally, just a slightly better film, but they're both great. And this is George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I do actually think this is my favourite zombie film of all time. I did do a top 5 zombie films, and both of these were on it. So I do hold them both in high regard. But it's mainly the setting for me on this one. I love the shopping mall setting. I just think it's perfect. I mean, there's been video games made about zombies called Dead Rising that all take place in a shopping mall and stuff. And it's obviously took a lot of inspiration from this. It just all works for me. I love the characters just going around having fun in this shopping mall. They're having fun taking the zombies out, but then obviously later on in the movie it starts getting a little bit out of hand and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think of Dawn of the Dead? Are you a fan of this?
I am a fan of Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I think it's a great movie. It's not my favourite zombie film, and it's probably my second favourite of the Romero zombie series. But I think it's an amazing film. Like you, I love the mall setting. I think that makes for a great setting. I love the characters, and what I like about Dawn of the Dead is it kind of, if you look at kind of cinema in general, and you see like quite sort of professional reviews and film guides and things like that, it's not uncommon for Dawn of the Dead to be part of that. I think like I saw a Radio Times thing not long ago, and it was like citing the best movies ever made, and it was like Godfather, Casablanca, them kind of things, and Dawn of the Dead was in it. And I think it's really cool that a horror film can get to that kind of level where even like professional critics regard it as a classic film. So yeah, I got a lot of respect for Dawn of the Dead and what it does for the horror genre in general.
Yeah, it is very critically acclaimed, I feel. Just like you said, the characters are great. I love the characters in this. The main dad, the main character, is his name Ken Forey?
Ken Forey, yeah.
I always remember him as Keenan's dad from Keenan.
Yes, yeah, me too. Yeah.
What more do you want? Keenan's dad is going around with a sniper rifle taking out zombies.
yeah, I know, it's amazing.
I love one of the quotes he comes out with in this film as well. The only sucker with enough money to buy, what was it? The only sucker that'll ever use this gun is the fool. What was it?
Yeah.
The only person to ever use this gun will be the fool with the bread to buy it, or something like that.
Yeah.
But love the way he delivers that line, and I think that all the characters have got good banter between them. They start calling another guy Flyboy and stuff like that. Yeah, great characters. You get behind them, you like them all, even though they make some stupid decisions sometimes, but they are likable characters to lead the film. Good little quartet they've got there. And I got a feeling of the world had ended, basically, or is on the brink of ending, because this takes place in the Night of the Living Dead, and it starts off in that radio station with all the phones are ringing and stuff like that. And it's very weird, the start of this film. Like, there's a lot of racial tones going on with some of the cops and stuff taking place in this little apartment block, and it's kind of weird. But I do actually like the first 20 minutes of this film where the police are getting sort of overtook by the zombies, but there's also a gland shooting thing going on. It's kind of strange, but that's just a weird start of the film, I think. But you do get the sense of the world is on the brink of ending, and I just think it sets up the atmosphere to the film. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think it's quite a strong start. It kind of throws you straight into the chaos. So yeah, it's a good end, a good beginning to the film.
Some good gore scenes in this as well. One moment I particularly like is where they're at the gas station and that zombie is just coming from the distance and he steps on the car, but the helicopter blades take his head off. And when the biker gang sort of invade the shopping mall towards the end of the film, and the third, a lot of gore scenes there. That guy, is it the makeup artist who's on there, or did he done the makeup? Didn't he? Guy who plays the Creep Show. Man, about, I think he done all the makeup for this movie.
Tom Savini.
Tom Savini, is that him? Does he actually get killed in this?
Yeah, he is. He plays the leader of the bike gang, and he does get killed as they get overtaken by the zombies. But I love, regarding the biker gang, I love the scene when they're running around the mall and they're pulling the jewelry off the zombie. Do you remember that scene? I thought that was such a low level kind of thing to do, but great kind of social commentary there from George Romero, that even though it's the end of the world and they're fighting zombies, they're still pulling the jewelry off this zombie woman. It's like,
yeah, humans are still worse than zombies.
Yeah.
But I love the moment where that guy's in the machine, the chair, and he's strapped in, and the zombies just pounce on him and just eat him alive. That's such a good moment. But yeah, just a fun movie all the way through it. really have a good time with this. I just think it's so entertaining. Everything in it works for me, and I have to put it on my top 5 horror movies. So, anything else to say on Dawn of the Dead, Bryn? Or
Just yeah, I agree with you. It's an excellent film. I think I know you mentioned the characters in it and you really like them, and I really like the character development in this as well. Particularly the guy, I think I can't remember who plays him, but the soldier who kind of for most of it he's kind of leading the group and he's in control, and then he slowly starts to lose it over time, and he gets a bit more reckless, and in the end he pays for it. But he's got some great kind of development of the characters and how they kind of adapt to the surroundings, sort of for better or worse, really.
is that the blonde guy who's a cop? Is that?
Yeah. Out of the 4, he's the blonde one, and he ends up turning into a zombie, and Ken Forey has to shoot him, and there's the famous scene of the sheet coming down over his face and that. Yeah.
He's really ill there, like when he's midway turning into a zombie, can't you? He's just in so much pain. It's like out of his misery. But, the only other thing I'm going to say about this, I don't think the makeup design is amazing, especially compared to zombie flesh eaters and stuff, but it still sort of works for the movie. Some of them have just got like blue faces and stuff. And if you seen that today, you'll be like, oh, I don't know. But it sort of still works for the film. What do you think of the look of the zombies here?
Yeah, that's if the zombies had better makeup, I think this may be the greatest zombie film ever. For me, it's kind of the makeup that lets it down. Like you say, that blue face paint. When you see the zombies in like zombie flesh eaters or like Day of the Dead, they are like rotting corpses, and that works better for me. So the makeup in Dawn of the Dead was never something that I kind of honed in as being all that great. But it's more the film itself that makes Dawn of the Dead rather than the makeup.
Yeah, it's something I can look past because the film is so amazing. But I think there was just that many zombies that they maybe didn't have the money to do it or something like that. There's moments where there's like hundreds of, well, not 100, but like 50 odd zombies on screen at once and stuff like that. But another little moment, a little scene I like there is where it's from like a helicopter point of view, but there's loads of zombies just outside on the parking lot and stuff like that. Just surrounded by death, basically. All right then, Bryn. Anything else to say on Dawn of the Dead, or should we move on to your next one?
No, I'm all good on that.
Okay, so do you want to say what's coming to your 4th place there?
Yeah, so number 4 on my list is Aliens.
Right.
So this is another one I discovered as a kid. I think Aliens was the first one that I watched. I'd not seen Alien. Again, my dad had Aliens on VHS, and it was just one that I watched, and I've always just considered it to be an excellent film. In terms of sequels, it's probably arguably the greatest sequel ever, and it does what sequels should do and take an original concept and build on it and make it better. I love the characters. I think it's got some of the greatest characters in it, like Hicks and Hudson and people like that. The aliens look amazing. I love what Stan Winston did with the Alien Queen, and it's just an amazing mix of like horror, action, sci-fi, with, like I say, some of the greatest characters ever thrown into it. So yeah, that's why that's number 4 on my list.
Yeah, look, Bryn, if I was gonna pick this, I didn't know whether to pick this or not because a lot of people say it's more action type movie, but there's definitely a lot of horror elements in there. So especially the moment with the face hugger in that room with Ripley and Newt, that is a scary scene.
Yeah.
And I was just like on the fence to pick this, but when I seen your list and you picked it anyway, I just left it. I thought, well, we're going to talk about it anyway. This is in my top 5 films of all time, not just horror films, but films. I have got not one bad thing to say about it, mate. I think it's a 10 out of 10, absolutely perfect movie. It's just I don't even know where to start with this sometimes because there's so many great moments. Do you think the first Alien is a little bit more horror compared to this one? But like you said, there's a lot of horror elements in there. The characters definitely are the biggest positive of this movie for me. Like you said, Hudson, Hicks, Ellen Ripley, the list goes on. I love the sergeant guy who says, "Look into my eye." Yeah, sadly passed away. But he's in this movie, I just think he's fantastic when I just love the way he always calls them sweethearts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a shame when he got killed off. I thought he got killed off too early because he was a great character.
yeah, maybe that's a negative of the movie then because he's so good. Bill Paxton in this comes out with some amazing quotes, doesn't he? I love him in this movie. Game over, man. Game over. But it's just a very well put together film. James Cameron took something there and spun it on its head like he did with Terminator 2. I mean, he made Arnie the good guy and stuff. And this one, he puts more aliens in there. It's definitely more, there's more action and stuff, more action focused. I think he just took something there and spun it a little bit, and it just totally worked for me.
Mm.
So many great moments in this movie. I mean, I love the last 20 minutes. I think it's one of the best final endings to a movie ever, where Ripley has to go back to Newt. And what I love about that is you find out early on in the movie that Ripley has been in space for like, what, 60 years or something, or 58 years. And she's lost her daughter and she's really upset about it. But it's sort of a motherhood thing with Newt now. She can back a little bit. Do you agree with that, Bryn?
Yeah.
Side story that's going on there.
Yeah, I got that too as well. Obviously, she learns that her daughter has passed away, and yeah, I got that as well when she meets Newt and takes her under her wing. That was like the kind of the new daughter aspect for Ellen Ripley's character. And an interesting thing, you know, in the film when it shows you Ripley's daughter and she's like an old woman now.
Yeah.
I think that was like Sigourney Weaver's real life mum. So it was an actual relation of Sigourney Weaver. So that was a cool thing that they did there.
That is another fun fact I've learned from you, but I'm not surprised because of the Bryn. Sorry, I remember the picture, and it does actually look a bit like.
Yeah, there is a resemblance.
I'm going to say it's Sigourney Weaver and makeup then.
yeah, but yeah, I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got the aliens in this that are the bad villains, basically, of the whole film, but kind of like Dawn of the Dead, where you've got the motorcycle gang and stuff. Here, you've got other bad characters that aren't the aliens.
Yeah.
Like in that, you've got the bike gang that aren't the zombies, but here you've got other bad characters that aren't the aliens, like Bear. Now, he is just a total slime ball, isn't he? I hate him more than the aliens. He's just hot, isn't he?
Yeah, he is awful. I think if there's one thing I would change about Aliens, is I would love to have seen his on-screen death. You know, and he turns around and the alien's just there. I'd love to have seen him got killed in graphic detail because he is just awful. He's an awful guy. And I love at the beginning when you meet him and he says, I work for the company, but don't worry, I'm not a bad guy. And it's like, oh, yes, you are.
You're just like, you can't, you've got "don't trust me" written all over your face there, mate.
Yeah.
Another character I love in this is Vasquez. I think she's great. I love it where that guy says, "Have you ever been mistaken for a man?" And she goes, "No, have you?"
Yeah.
But she is proper tough in this, which is, it's crazy to think that this is the same character from John Connor's stepmom in Terminator 2. That blows my mind.
Yeah, she looks very different in that film, doesn't she?
Yeah. But going back to the last 20 minutes, Bryn, do you think that's a good moment, like a good ending to this film? Because I think it's just got everything the last 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it is. It is an amazing ending. And I also love the bit at the end as well when she gets back up to the top and she thinks that Bishop's gone.
Yeah.
And then the spaceship comes back up as everywhere explodes. And I thought that was really good as well. But yeah, it's a fantastic ending to the film. And I love when they reveal the Queen alien and it's all kind of like very slow. Like it's the Queen slowly comes out of like the shell thing and starts snarling and breathing, and it's all, she very much takes the time to reveal herself, whereas now I think it'd just be over the top CGI flying around everywhere. And I thought that was a really good way that they revealed the Queen alien.
Special effects in this just look better than things you see today, don't they?
Yeah.
I like that ending. I love, because she doesn't trust Bishop all the way through it, and ultimately he ends up saving her, which is just great.
Yeah. I thought that was a I thought Bishop's character in this was a bit of redemption for Ash's character in Alien. Like, he turned into a murderous android, whereas Bishop, he ended up saving her. So a bit of redemption there on the android front.
Yeah. Like when you're talking about the Queen revealing herself as well, another great reveal here that happens quite slowly is where Newt is kind of lost under I think she falls through a crate or something like that, or she goes down a pipe or something, and she's underneath them all, and they're going, "Don't worry, we'll get you out," and the alien just comes up from the water behind, and you're like, "Oh, that looks amazing on screen when you see it."
It's so well set up. It's like the scene when they're in the room and it's all red. And Hudson's saying they're getting closer, like they're 2 meters away, and they're like, they can't be, that's in the room. And then they like slowly look up, and the aliens are coming through the panels in the ceiling. It's like, that's so scary and so well done.
Yeah, it is. The one thing, this will not. There is one thing that slightly irks me, but I don't stop this from being a 10 out of 10 or nothing.
Yeah.
Just when they find Ripley floating in space, it just seems to coincide with the aliens taking over the planet. Like, it's like the exact time that they both meet, if you get me.
Yeah. I totally know what you mean. It's like she's been out there for like nearly 60 years, and then they've had these like colonies on this planet, and only now, after years and years, do the aliens start causing trouble. I get what you mean. I think I can forgive it because they kind of needed that as a catalyst to send the Marines back. But yeah, it is a coincidence.
It's kind of hard to make up this movie because you need Ripley's daughter to go. You need her to sort of pass on so she can do the whole thing with Newt. You need all that. So you can forgive them for doing that.
Yeah.
Me, 10 out of 10, mate. I just love the movie. I feel like watching it tonight now and that we've been talking about it. I can always go back to it. Another great moment that really quickly before we move on is that knife scene with Bishop and Bill Paxton. Love that part.
Yeah.
Just so. Yeah. Anything else to say on Aliens, Bryn, or should we move on to the next one?
I'm all good. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah. One of the best films ever made. End of story. Okay. I'm on my third pick now. Now, I'm not sure I might have heard this wrong, Bryn, but are you not a massive fan of the one I'm about to pick here? I have picked The Shining.
No, I'm a fan of The Shining. Yeah. I like that movie.
Right, sorry about that. I think I might have been getting confused with someone there, but when I picked it, I thought, I'm sure he's not really the biggest fan of this one. But sorry, I do apologise.
No, that's right.
So Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Probably the best haunted house type, well, haunted hotel, but haunting movie that you'll see, I feel. I know Stephen King's not a fan of what Stanley Kubrick done here, but I am a massive fan of what Stanley Kubrick done here. I think his imagery on screen is so creepy.
Yeah.
Watching Jack Nicholson just turn into a madman, but he sort of seems like that way at the start of the film anyway, I feel. I don't know if do you feel that about his character?
You what, sorry?
Do you actually feel like Jack Nicholson is not all there at the start of the movie? Do you think he's like got inside of him?
Yeah, I think at the start there is definitely something brewing within him.
Yeah.
The hotel or whatever it is brings out later on. But yeah, there's definitely something. And I think they even say there's a conversation they have where he hits his son or something. They're on about a past incident where he's hit his son. So there's definitely something going on there with him.
Yeah. But like I said, it's what Stanley Kubrick, the way he directs this film, for me, all just works.
Yeah.
I remember watching this for the first time when I was younger. I think it was about 10 or something. And my dad said, I'm warning you now, it's scary. And I went, all right, I'll watch it. And something scary happened. I think it's the elevator scene or the two twins that appear on screen.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. The next minute it just goes black, the screen, and it says Tuesday. I was like watching it in the dark going, please put the lights back on now. I can imagine in the cinema that just to be really scary, a word Tuesday on the screen, you wouldn't think it, but that to me was just like, whoa, because it was so dark in the room. But like I said, you've got them twins in this that appear now and again, the elevator scene with the blood coming. What do you think of the imagery that Stanley Kubrick puts on screen here?
It's amazing. He has an artistry about him that I think is just unrivaled, and it's The Shining may be his best example of him using that scenery and that sort of editing process and things like that to full effect. And yeah, it's hard for me to articulate why it's so scary. It just is. It just feels like a really scary film. And I think, you know, Stanley Kubrick and his filmmaking style is credit to that.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't know if this is true, but apparently he sort of was a bit hard on Shelley Duvall in this movie. You know, pushing it to a limit, really. And I think you can, I don't know if that's true, but you can definitely see a bit of a broken woman in this film because of her performance. I think she's just terrified of Jack all the way through it. A lot of people don't like her performance in this movie and think it's one of the worst things about it, but I think she's pretty good in it. What do you feel about Shelley Duvall in this one?
Yeah, well, Shelley Duvall's performance in this is actually one of the things that scares me because she's so convincing as like this terrified woman. It really gets it across to you. And yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard Stanley Kubrick. He was notoriously difficult to work with anyway, but he was purposely very kind of mean and distant towards Shelley Duvall. I think to kind of get that result of that sort of frightened, vulnerable woman. I heard as well that he made Scatman Crothers cry. You know, the guy in it who does the shine. He made him cry during the filming of the movie. But yeah, yeah, I think Shelley Duvall's performance is amazing. I think she's very convincing, and yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah. Speaking of that guy, the maintenance guy, is that what you're on about, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
This bit always creeped me out, and he's not even a bad guy in the movie, but where he's just talking to Shelley Duvall, and he looks at Danny and telepathically says to him, "How'd you like some ice cream, Doc?" With the score going on in the background, that scared the hell out of me when I seen it. But it's not even meant to be a scary moment because it's just showing you what they can do. But it did feel, well, maybe it was meant to be scary, I don't know, but that really freaked me out. But I think it's so well done, that moment of the movie. But yeah, it's so many great scenes in this. You got Jack Torrance where he's typing away all the time, and Shelley Duvall comes and looks at the script, and it's just all work and no play, makes Jack a dull boy, and you know that's when it sort of flips the movie. And he's just a madman in this. When he actually does turn, his performance for me is absolutely unbelievable. I think it's one of the best performances I've ever seen from an actor, especially when he's walking up the stairs and, you know, give me the bat. I'm just going to bash your brains in. When he's breaking the door down.
Yeah.
What do you think of Jack Nicholson in this movie, then, Bryn?
Yeah, frighteningly convincing. I think it's one of the perfect roles for him. Yeah, he does amazing in it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great actor anyway, isn't he? But it's just one of his best performances by a mile for me.
I'd love to hear more rhetoric from Jack Nicholson about this movie. I've never really heard him discuss it much, but I'd love to know what he thinks of it and what his experiences were of making it.
Yeah, that's it. That will be interesting, actually. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about it because of Stanley Kubrick. Who knows? No, but he's not joking there. One moment that does stand out for me in this film more than anything is room 237. You keep hearing, "Don't go in there, don't go in there."
Yeah.
And Danny comes out and says, "Oh, this woman attacked them." And he's like, "You out of your fucking mind." But then Jack Nicholson goes into the room, and what unfolds is absolutely terrifying for me. It's just like, that is the moment that creeped me out more than anything with this movie. You got any favourite scenes of this film yourself, Bryn? Is that one of them?
Well, I was thinking, as you were talking about the film, I was just thinking the whole film is just a scary film.
Yeah.
And one of the scary things is you can't always put your finger on it. There's just an uncomfortable vibe when it comes to that movie. The hotel, the way it looks, the corridors, and just the things that you don't see are just, I don't know, it's an uncomfortable film to watch. They set a great atmosphere for that movie. But in terms of favourite scenes, like I say, there's not really anything that stands out in particular. I mean, the Here's Johnny scene is pretty cool, but it's a very unnerving experience to watch that movie. I don't know how Stanley Kubrick did it, but it gets under your skin and it just creeps you out. And sometimes there can be nothing happening, and it just does it. So it's just from start to finish. It's an excellently made horror film.
I agree, mate. He captures the atmosphere from start to finish. You know, as soon as they get into this hotel, that something's not quite right with it. And even the start where they go into the hotel with the score,
That ominous music.
Yeah, it's all set up perfectly. I agree. It is a hard one to pick out some certain scenes because nearly every scene in this is meant to make you feel uncomfortable. And yeah, I totally agree with what you said there, mate. Okay, so that is The Shining. Anything else to say on that one, Bryn, or should we move on?
No, I'm happy to move on. Yeah, covered that enough.
Okay, so we're going with our third pick, is it?
Yeah, my third favourite film, and I've gone for Fright Night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another one I watched when I was a kid, and I just absolutely love this film. I was obsessed with it when I was younger. One of my favourite themes for a horror film. So, like a horror fan finding out that his neighbour is a vampire and nobody believes him, so he turns to like a horror actor to help him get rid of the vampire, who turns out to be a total coward. It's just a great story, and some of the best characters and some of the best performances ever. Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, the vampire, is for me arguably one of the greatest vampires I've ever seen. He's so suave and so charming. He does such a good job. I love the effects in it. I love that it kind of has nods to the horror genre in general, and the music as well. That music that Brad Fiedel did was just amazing. Beautiful piece of music. So yeah, I love everything about Fright Night. It's such a fun horror film. I could watch it now. To be honest, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I watched this all the way through for the first time the other day. I had seen the first 30 minutes or something. I watched it a couple of times at my friend's house because he's a big fan of this, but I only ever got to the first 30 minutes or whatever. But I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was one of the best vampire films I've seen. Like you said, Chris Sarandon is great at the vampire, but the atmosphere and vibe I got off this film is it's something you could watch around Halloween. It's just very, very horror styled.
Yeah.
It's not a horror movie. When Charlie is just watching Fright Night on the TV and stuff,
Yeah.
it's just all focused around, a horror themed movie. It's hard to explain, but this is one I'd like to watch in October now and again. But yeah, Chris Sarandon as the vampire. I always love the concept as well of not knowing who next door is, because I love films like Disturbia, The Burbs, Summer of '84, a more recent one, where someone in the neighborhood is up to no good. I love that concept, and I think it's done really, really well here. No one believes Charlie, which sort of makes you get behind him because you know what's happening. You know that he's right, and everyone just thinks he's going crazy. But Chris Sarandon as the vampire, like you said, he is one of the best vampires I've seen on screen. He is terrifying, especially when he's sort of warning Charlie now and again. He comes into his room and goes, "Tell you what, you just forget everything. I'll leave you alone," and stuff like that. Sort of giving him a warning because he'll kill his mum and his girlfriend and stuff like that. I thought there was a few good characters in this. I loved Evil. What did you think? What did you think of him, Charlie's friend? I thought he was at the potential to be so annoying in this movie, but he's really, really actually quite entertaining.
Yeah, he's really funny. He's a great character. I like that he's kind of he's like the horror expert in it. So like he's the one that Charlie consults when he's like, how do I kill a vampire? And he's the one that informs him. So I saw a bit of myself in that character as this horror aficionado. But yeah, he was really funny and brought a lot of humor to the film. So yeah, he was great.
I love it when Charlie just says, "I've got a vampire living next door to me," and he just looks at him and laughs in his face. It's the laugh, you know what I mean? But like you said, the music in this movie, I think it's great. But even the part where they're in a nightclub, and it's just playing nightclub music, even that for me was really good. It felt really 80s, and it just worked for that scene really, really well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funny quotes in this, I think. There was one moment where I have to rewind it like 3 times. It's where Charlie tells the cop that next door's a vampire, and they walk in, and the cop goes, "Why, what's down there?" And and Chris Sarandon's friend, the roommate, goes, "Yeah, Charlie, what's down there?" That is delivered perfect for me. I find that really funny. Do you think this is borderline horror comedy, or do you think didn't you find like some of the quotes funny and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely a horror comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it does both aspects really well. The horror aspect is fantastic, and the comedy aspects are genuinely funny, and they complement each other very well rather than being like jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great blend.
Yeah, I thought that was funny as well at the moment. I don't know if you think this, but she's like, "Thanks for helping Charlie with his homework," and then raises her eyebrows like, "I know what you've been up to there."
Yeah.
The only one thing about like the practical effects in this film are really good, actually. Like I said, I prefer practical effects compared to most CGI. I know there is some good CGI out there these days, but I loved all the practical effects in this. And one thing that was really I was scratching my head with though is I can't remember who the character is now who turns into it. But it's like a werewolf instead of a vampire at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Do you know why they went in that direction, or was I missing something there?
No, I don't know why they did that. I think it's evil, isn't it? Evil gets staked and then turns into a werewolf. I just always thought they just wanted to show off some kind of special effects, like werewolf transformations were probably in at that time after American Werewolf and the Howling. So whether they were just flexing their animatronic muscles and thought we'll throw this in as well. That's the only thing I can think of when it comes to that, because it is quite random.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like you said, that guy who does the Fright Night show, they turn to him for help, and he is a complete coward. I thought he was the best character in the whole film. I loved him. I think his name's Peter something, is it?
Yeah, Peter Vincent.
Yeah. And he's so eager, like when he drink the holy water and stuff, he's like, "Okay, Charlie, we can go now." He just doesn't want to know, does he?
Yeah.
just wants his money and wants to get off, like. But yeah, I think this is a really, really fun movie. I'm glad you picked it because I finally got round to it now. I'm definitely going to pick it up on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's in the collection. It's a really, really fun movie. One thing it did remind me of a little bit was The Lost Boys, not because the vampire aspect, but at the end of the film, like we talked about the werewolf bit, it's like a big fight scene in a house, and that sort of happened in The Lost Boys, and I just kind of reminded me of that. Do you think that ends on a good note with that big scene in the house?
Where you see the eyes, is that what you mean?
No, it's like where he's sort of fighting Chris Sarandon's vampire in the big house, isn't he? Basically, because
yes, I think it ends on a good note. I think it has a good ending, and then they all kind of hug at the end, don't they? So I always took it as a good ending. It didn't seem like the kind of film to have a bad ending either. So yeah.
I love the last quote of the film as well, where he thinks he's seen, like you said, the eyes. And you just hear, what is it? What's up now, Brewster, or something like that. He says,
"Cool, Brewster." Yeah.
I thought, that was a great ending. That. But yeah, Fright Night, what a great film. I really had fun with it, Bryn. I'm glad you picked it. Anything else to say on Fright Night? Or?
No, I think just to say, when you're talking about some of the great lines, one of the bits that always makes me laugh is when Chris Sarandon, the vampire, he meets Jerry Dandridge, he meets Peter Vincent, the vampire killer, and he says, "I've seen all of your films, and I found them very amusing." I thought that was amazing. Yeah, that always makes me laugh.
Yeah, because he's a vampire himself, basically. But, all right, then we'll move on to my second pick. Near perfect film for me, this, and that is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. I just think this is so well put together as a movie. A lot of people might say this started the slasher genre instead of Halloween. I'm not quite sure about that one. but there's a great slasher kill in this. But I think Alfred Hitchcock just directed this film so well. Halfway through it, we have this main protagonist, this female protagonist, who we're following all the way through the movie, and then that infamous shower kill scene happens, and the movie flips it like that. And I don't think that was actually quite common back in the 60s for that to happen. And then we sort of see from a different point of view, from a different protagonist point of view. I think it's the female's actress's sister or something like that.
Yeah.
We go and search for it, and but I just think it's a really well put together story, excellently directed. Are you a fan of Psycho, Bryn?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, one of Alfred Hitchcock's best film, which is saying something, because he did some good ones. And yeah, I like this one because I feel that Psycho kind of was revolutionary in bringing horror into like the everyday setting. Like it came out of the Gothic castles and into kind of America. And like you say, I mean, killing Janet Layoff that early on was unheard of in Hollywood back then. So yeah, I can only imagine what that must have gone down like in the 60s. Yeah, excellent film.
I was saying female protagonist there. I totally forgot it was Janet Leigh's name. It just evaded me, so I have to work away around that. Thanks for that. Sorry, I've just off my camera there. Okay, yeah. But yeah, I just think he builds up the story really well. I mean, this woman's not really doing the right thing. She's stealing all this money and stuff. So you're kind of like, what's going on with her? But when she meets Anthony Perkins, I think the movie really starts to unfold there of what it's trying to be. I think Anthony Perkins is excellent as Norman Bates. He just seems like this sweet guy, and he's really caring and stuff. But then she asks him about his mother, and he starts going, "Well, what do you want to do? Just leave her alone and never move out?" And you're like, something's not quite right with this guy. And the aspect of you think his mother is doing all this killing in the movie and stuff like that. And I think this has got one of the best twist endings to a film ever. We actually see it's Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates all along doing this, dressing up as his mother and stuff. When I first seen that and the music came in, I was like, oh my God. I did know it was going to happen because it's such an old movie and I knew the twist, but it still worked for me. Alfred Hitchcock apparently stood outside cinemas back in the day begging people not to tell the people who were going in the ending. He was that dedicated to it and stuff. And that is going to extreme lengths. But what do you think of the twist on this film then, Bryn?
It's one of those films that I wish I could kind of go back and watch not knowing anything, because it's such an iconic film. I think I knew about Psycho very early on before I'd even seen the whole film, and you just kind of know what happens anyway because it's so famous. But it's an amazing twist. But for the time it was made as well, it's really really effective. And yeah, I just wish I could kind of forget what happens and watch it again, because it must have been mind blowing to experience the film from start to finish, and then see the timid, mild mannered Norman Bates, and then have it revealed that he's the killer. That must have been amazing to see. But yeah, it's such a well put together film, and the twist is really good.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain movies out there that I feel like would have been amazing back in the day at the cinema. The Exorcist being one, Alien when the chest burst scene happens. But I think this one is one of them movies. I mean, when it came out, obviously no one knew what was going to happen. I would have been walking up the cinema there going, wow, mind blown. It would have been absolutely amazing. The shower kill scene is one of the most famous scenes in horror history. I don't think you quite seen anything like that back in the day, did you? And especially the way he was filmed it. I think there's like 23 or 24 different cuts as it's happening. It just looks like it's all happening at once.
Yeah.
Well directed. The music and everything, just all worked for me. What did you think of that scene then, Bryn? Because we have to talk about it. It's just so iconic. That was just a standout moment for me in this film.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's an amazing scene. One of the most famous scenes in horror. And I think it does very well of making you think you've seen more than what you have, because it's still quite a violent scene, and you never actually see any like piercing or stabbing, but the way it's filmed and the way it's edited, it's quite a harsh scene. And yeah, you think it's more kind of in your face than what it is, but it's just sort of clever acting, real clever editing. So yeah, great scene.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on this before we move on. But there's something about Alfred Hitchcock movies. I always feel a sense of comfort watching them. Like, not the part where the killings happen and stuff, but like the first 30 minutes of this movie, I'm just sort of watching it, and then I always like relax to them, if you like. I mean, North by Northwest is another one that I'm sort of feel like that. The Birds is another one. Not when all the horror moments are happening and stuff, but just the way he sets the story up. I always feel like it's just nice to watch, but then obviously stuff does start happening that takes you out of that zone. But that's the way I just feel about Alfred Hitchcock movies sometimes. It's the way he makes them and stuff. Feel very, very vintage, I feel.
Yeah,
But,
I think you're in good hands with Hitchcock as well. You can kind of sit back and enjoy what's going to be a very good film.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. Yeah. All right, well, that is Psycho. Anything else to say on that one, Bryn? Or
no, I'm all good on that. No.
Okay, so do you want to go with your second favorite horror movie then?
Yeah, my second favorite horror movie is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Right.
So, a near perfect horror film, in my opinion. I'm sure everyone has seen this and knows about it, but I love everything about it. I love the setting. I love the characters. The effects in this are amazing. I love the fact that in The Thing, when you watch it, the characters are actually quite smart. So they do a lot of the right things. Like in horror films, people do stupid stuff, and it kind of annoys you seeing them make these silly decisions. But they're actually quite. What they do in this film is based on science and based on kind of common sense. Yet, the thing still takes over people. But yeah, to me, it's a pretty much perfect horror film.
Okay, right. This is where I slightly have different feelings towards the thing. Only slightly. I do think it's a very, very good film. It's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. But I've watched this like 5 times now, and it's never really hit home as much as it does with other people like yourself. I don't know why, and I want it to. I feel like every time I go back, I'm gonna see something new, and I do appreciate it more the more I watch it. It's just a good, solid film for me. But like you said, the setting is great. It's got this feeling of isolation, of course. They're all kind of like Alien, but in the Antarctica, if you get me. There's just no help coming and stuff. And straight from the off now, I'm just going to mention Lauren here from Lauren's collection, because she was talking about The Thing the other day on her channel, and she says, from the first 5 minutes, something's up with this dog, because they're trying to the helicopter, and you're like, why are they going to great lengths for this?
Yeah.
And obviously, it's The Thing is inside this dog. But yeah, when it all starts kicking off, no help is coming. They are alone, and they've got to deal with it themselves. These characters. Kurt Russell's great in this, but it's full of great characters. I love the scene, and it's probably the most standout scene of the whole movie, where they're doing the test on. They can find out who the thing is with this test they've come up with. Got to go through all the characters and like, oh, what's going to happen here? It's really, really tense. I think that was such a clever scene. What do you think about that scene, Bryn? Are you a fan of that?
I think that's my favourite scene in the movie. It's set up so well, and you don't know who the thing is or what's going to happen. And I think it's really clever as well when you watch it, and when something does happen, it's almost like they're going down another avenue by blaming someone else, and then that happens. It's so good how they do it.
As a viewer, you're not really quite sure who to trust yourself, are you? Like the characters in the movie and stuff.
Yeah.
One thing, probably one of the best things about this movie is the practical effects. I mean, for the time, they were absolutely mind-blowing. And like I said before, I do prefer some of the effects in the 80s compared to what today, especially the special effects in The Thing. John, it's just so well done on screen, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think, arguably the best practical effects ever. Maybe they are that good. And yeah, if you want an argument of, like you say, 80s special effects being the best, I think The Thing is a go-to film for that.
Yeah. this film didn't do too well, did it, when it come out? I think John Carpenter, I don't think it was critically acclaimed very
No,
well.
it didn't do very well at all. It's such a shame, and it was John Carpenter's first big budget movie. Universal approached him to do it, so it was like his chance at a big studio film, and it flopped. And it's such a shame, really, because I don't think John Carpenter didn't deserve that, and the film is amazing. So yeah, it's a shame that that happened. But I think it was everyone was watching E.T. at the time. They wanted friendly aliens.
Yeah.
E.T. had taken the world by storm, and then this cold-looking horror film about an evil alien didn't resonate as much at the time. So, yeah, blame E.T.
Weird, isn't it? When you think back, yeah. I've never been a big fan of E.T. anyway. No, but when you think back about all these films that came out in the 80s and 70s and early 90s, they're just amazing, aren't they? I mean, there's still good films out today, but when you think of things like this coming to the cinema, I mean, that would have just been great to go and watch.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter does another great little score here. I mean, it's just more very, very simplified, but it's just, doom, 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 doom.
Yeah.
Just works for the film for me.
Yeah.
I really do like that. John Carpenter is just a master of scores. But I've got to admit now, Bryn, I haven't seen this movie for quite a while. It's been about 2-3 years now. Did want to watch it for this video. I just couldn't squeeze it in time. But they're the moments that stand out for me: the score, the test scene, the practical effects of Kurt Russell, the characters. Is there anything else to say on The Thing that you'd like to talk about?
I think probably just the ending's worth mentioning, because I still have conversations with people now about the ending and who is the thing and who isn't the thing. So it leaves it on a really good cliffhanger.
Yeah. Have you seen the prequel or the remake or whatever it is?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I didn't like that one. I only watched it the once. I don't even own it, to be honest. I just didn't do it right for me.
Yeah, I heard a few people say it was quite good actually, but the CGI ruins it, which just shows you.
Terrible. Yeah.
Just stay to the practical effects and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really atmospheric movie that not many films you see take place in the Antarctica. And I think the setting is amazing for that movie. So that is The Thing. Sorry I couldn't help out a bit more there, Bryn. I'm just
Fine.
gonna have to rewatch it. Maybe next time I rewatch it, it will come to life for me a little bit more and hit me at home like it does with everyone else. So should we go on to my number one, or sorry for the change of scenery, everyone there. Bryn had to go and get his charger, so that's why Bryn is in a slightly different position now. But we're just going to go on to my number one movie now, and that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, for me, the greatest horror movie ever made. I think Tobe Hooper has done a bit of a masterpiece here. And I think this might have been the film, Bryn. Is this the one that you're not overly fussed on, or?
Yeah, I'd say my feelings of this are like you with The Thing.
Yeah.
Very strong film, but there's other movies that do it for me. But it definitely has its merits that we'll talk about. So yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, it just all starts from the very first moment where the narrator talks about this group of characters who walk into a nightmare, basically. And it's kind of like the Shining, really, where it just sets it up from the start. And then you just see this dead body just sitting on this chair, that's been decomposed. And the camera zooms out and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, this sounds like a very dangerous film that's about to happen here. And what I like about this movie more than anything is that this, to me, is realistic. This is based on a true story. I wouldn't put it past anyone in the outback of Texas right now doing this, just in the middle of nowhere. I really wouldn't, because humans can be more scary than anyone else. And Leatherface is practically a human who's just gone insane, basically, and he's from an insane family. And it all just works for me. It's so realistic. The way it's shot by Tobe Hooper, he sort of documents the movie, really. It's got a very gritty feel to it. It just felt very realistic to me. And the way it's shot is perfect. And I don't know if Toby Hooper sort of fluked it. I might be wrong there, but I don't know if even he thought that this was gonna come out the way it did, because the feeling I get watching this is just like nothing I ever see in another horror movie. But is there a reason, Bryn, that it doesn't quite hit home with you or anything like that, or do you agree with those points? Or
Yeah, I mean that was a fantastic way to describe the movie. I mean, as you were saying that, I was like, actually, it is a pretty good film. I don't know what it was about it. I agree. First of all, it looks amazing in terms of it looks real. I like the grittiness of it. I like that it doesn't look like a Hollywood studio has been anywhere near it. Everything looks genuine. Like the farmhouse, the barn house location looks real. All of like the bones and the human skin stuff looks real. So they did a fantastic job with the look and the feel of the film. Leatherface as well, I thought he was amazing. And like you say, he is just human really, and there is that element of there are kind of people probably like this somewhere in the world. I don't know why it didn't resonate for me that much. I think when the first time I watched it, towards the end, you know, the dinner time scene, just screaming and screaming and screaming. I think after a while that kind of got to me a little bit, and I much preferred kind of the first half of the movie when they're going into the farmhouse and Leatherface is there with his apron and he doesn't know where they're coming from and he's picking them off one by one. I thought that was the stronger part of the film. Later on, when he picks her up in the truck and brings her back to the house, for me it kind of it lost it a little bit there, and it just got a bit sort of samey. But it is an excellent film. It really is. It is one of the best of the genre. So I can't knock it too much. It's just not one that I watch all that much. I think I was more of like a Halloween and Friday the 13th kid rather than Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I agree with that to a certain point, Bryn, because I remember the first time I watched this, that's where it trailed off for me. When they go back to the house, I was like, oh, this was all like doing really well. It was really creepy and sinister. And I was sort of going into this stupid thing with this family. But the more I watch it, the more I actually think that's a really good part of the movie, especially when you read into what the actress who played Sally had to go through. That was all filmed in 24 hours, that final dinner scene. But it actually took 24 hours to do the whole thing. And she was constantly screaming and screaming and screaming. And in the movie, you can tell it's getting to her because it really was in real life. And I think she looks genuinely terrified as what is happening. I think it's very, very disturbing actually when you see her just screaming all the time, because I'm like, at first I was kind of like you, the screaming sort of gets to you a little bit, but the more I watch it, the more this works for me actually, and actually one of the better parts of the movie. But she's going through hell basically. You know, she knows all her friends are dead. I don't know if Leatherface has got one of her friends masked face. I think it's meant to be a brother or something, or the guy in a wheelchair. I'm not quite sure, but that all worked to me. And I think a lot of people, when they see the title of this film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they expect a big bloodbath, but it's not quite like that. I don't think it's as violent as some movies, especially with the hook scene. It's more what you don't see. You just know she's been put on a hook and there's a tiny bit of blood spatters, but you see a friend getting chopped up in front of her, but you don't actually see the gore and that. It's actually everything you don't see here. Leatherface, for me, one of the greatest movie villains of all time. I just love the look of him, the apron he's got on and everything. And the moment in this movie that just says pure horror to me is where the young girl is going in the house after a boyfriend, and she sees Leatherface. He runs after her. She breaks out into the daylight, and he just grabs her at the last second and pulls her back into the darkness. That for me is so iconic, that scene. But do you agree with that?
Yeah, and the scene as well beforehand when the boyfriend stumbles on the thing, and then Leatherface comes out with the sledgehammer, and you get your first look at him.
Yeah.
That was amazing as well.
Yeah, and the door just slams and it just goes boom, and that's it. It's like, well, what happened there?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love everything about this movie. It's a bit of a short one. It's only like 70 minutes long or something like that. But to me, it's pretty much perfect. The only problem I have got is some of the characters. But that's a hard thing to pull off in horror movies when you've got a group of 5 characters who are just there to be killed, basically. You very rarely see horror movies with a group of teenagers with lots of character developments and stuff. So I can sort of forgive it for that, because most of the time, then characters are going to be killed anyway. So there's no point in giving the character development.
I thought Franklin was an interesting one because I didn't know whether to feel sorry for him or be annoyed by him, because I felt sorry for him because he was like wheelchair bound in like this, not, quite a difficult environment, that uneven sort of Texas landscape, and then being chased around by these killers in a barn house. He really had a disadvantage, but then at the same time, he was such an annoying, whiny character. I never knew how to feel about Franklin. So he was an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is one of the slight negatives, because I do feel sorry for him and stuff, but he is kind of annoying at the same time, especially when he's in the house and he's just going.
Yeah. He was a strange character.
Yeah, he's very, very strange character. But it's more towards the other characters. There's nothing really to the other 3, apart from Sally and Franklin. There's nothing really to the other 3 characters, really. But I can forgive that. I think it's the best horror film ever made, mainly because of the realism and stuff. And the Hitchhiker and Leatherface's father are really strange out there characters as well.
I think in terms of realism, you probably are. There's very few films that are better in terms of that realism. It really does excel in that respect.
The last thing I'll say on it, Leatherface is the most dangerous character in this movie, but then you've seen him kill these people, and then his dad comes home and starts beating him up and stuff, and he's just terrified of his dad, and it's like, oh my god, his family is so weird. But yeah, that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Anything else to say on that one, Bryn? Or
I think just to touch on what you said there with Leatherface, I thought it was quite interesting that he is like this psychotic killer, but he's kind of more just reacting into these random people coming into his house. He's not like going after them. He's kind of just like, whoa, and they're like coming into his house. And I think it struck me that a lot of the time he was more just confused rather than anything of where these kids were coming from. So I thought that was interesting.
There's a scene where he's just sitting there, like, sort of scratching his head. What's going on here? I agree with that. That is a good point. Well, that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My number 1 pick. So we've got one more movie left, Bryn. Do you want to move on to your best horror film of all time? I know what this is going to be even before you pick the list. But we'll go on to it.
Yes, my favourite horror movie of all time is Jaws, which was another one that I discovered when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with like sharks and the ocean and the beach and things like that. I also had a love for movies. So when I first watched Jaws, it was a great combination of the two. And when I first watched it, it was just to watch the shark and see the shark chomping down on people. But as the years go by, as time goes on, and you learn more about films and you get more of an appreciation for cinema, you see more and more of what Spielberg did and just how well put together a film it is. So it's always been my favourite film, just because of how good of a film it is, but also like that childhood nostalgia as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I used to be one of them when I used to watch films. I used to fast forward to the good bits when I was a kid, but yeah, like over time, you do appreciate movies, don't you? And what they become, how put together they are. Steven Spielberg put this together so well. I think he was a genius, not really showing the shark until the first hour mark, I think it is. I mean, you see snippets of, kid getting killed and stuff on the beach, but you don't actually see the shark until about halfway through. I think that was a really, really good decision. I watched this the other day. Like, because a lot of my YouTuber friends have Jaws in their top 5 films ever and stuff, including yourself, I decided to go and watch this again because I hadn't watched it for a long time, and I just thought I want to see what all this fuss is about. Will I love it as much as everyone else? Because it's been like 5 or 6 years, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for about 5 days. All week it was just in my head how good this movie was. There was so many moments. I just couldn't stop. I was just thinking, wow, how good was that moment? How good was this? The quote of "You're gonna need a bigger boat" was just. I didn't realize why so many people come out with that quote until I seen it this time. It is landed perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But would you say we'll get on to the characters and stuff in a minute? Do you think this is a bit of a half and half movie? Because I think the first half is the mystery of the shark, this shark terrorizing people on the beach. But the second half is more of an event and like an adventure horror movie where they go after the shark. Do you feel the same way, that it's sort of split in two?
Yeah, I think there's definitely two distinct sort of types of movie in this one. And I think the first half probably plays more on like you say, what you don't see, and it's maybe a little bit more scary because you don't know what's going on. And then the second half goes more kind of like action adventure, bit of exploitation-y type filmmaking as well. So yeah, as soon as they set off in the Orca out to sea, that for me is like the second half, the second act of the film, where the action picks up and the shark comes into it more.
Do you still go in the sea now and think about this movie? Because I do.
Yeah, I do. I'm a bit weird like that. I think about it a lot at the beach, and I do love going in the sea. So it does scare me, but I don't know. At the same time, I just like going in the sea. So
I remember my mum and dad used to tell me that shark attacks don't really happen by the shore and stuff like that. They're all like in the deep ocean. But in this movie, it does actually say that most shark attacks happen by the shore.
Yeah.
Maybe because there's more people by the shore, I don't know, but they were just lying to me basically. But the characters in this are some of the best aspects of the film. You got Quint, the Chief Brody, and the other guy, the scientist guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah.
I think these characters are a really important cog to this film, especially Quint. I love his introduction where he stretches his hand out on the blackboard and, like everyone stands and takes notice of him. But I think these three characters on the boat really do add a good dynamic to the film. They've got good chemistry between them and stuff like that. Do you feel like these are good characters to have?
Oh yeah, I think it's perfect casting, and I think from what I understand as well, they did actually kind of have a similar relationship in real life as what they have on the boat. I know that Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw, they clashed quite a bit. So in the scenes when they're arguing, that was happening in real life. And,
All right.
yeah, I think everyone just does amazing in this film. I love Murray Hamilton as the mayor. I thought he was amazing as well. So yeah, perfect casting, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just quickly on the mayor, when he says, "Go into the sea," to them, that little family.
Yeah.
And I look around.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I think it's like a political type of thing, isn't it? With the mayor and the chief, to sort of bounce them back and forth. And, because summer's coming, they want all the people to go on the beach and make loads of money, but he's warning them not to. And you have like a little conflict there. One thing that always stands out to me about this film, there's some scary moments that don't involve the shark, really. There's the diver. I think it's Richard Dreyfuss. Does he go down and that?
Oh yeah, the head.
That's a really creepy jump scene.
Yeah.
One of the other moments that really is scary to hear is Quint's story about the Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Now, that is a great monologue, I feel. I think Steven Spielberg actually said this was his favourite part of the whole film. I think he did. Did you agree with that? There's other I think Spielberg done really well to include other scary moments or disturbing moments that doesn't involve the shark.
Yeah, absolutely. And that scene you mentioned, I think it's really good because it sets the scene in a couple of ways. Like you say, it's a scary story anyway, so it makes us feel uncomfortable, but it also gives a bit of kind of reason as to why Quint is the way he is, and why he hunts sharks, and why he's so focused on getting this shark. It's a very interesting and quite clever character dynamic there to Quint, and what drives him.
Yeah, I was kind of sad at the end when Quint got killed by the shark, because I loved him as a character. I thought he was the best one out of three personally, but it's a great scene, the way it's filmed. But we've got to mention the music.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Very simple, effective.
Yeah, iconic music. I think Steven Spielberg said when he first heard it, he thought it was a joke, because it was just like da 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 da, and he thought they were winding up. But yeah, no, that's what it was, and yeah, it is amazing. And I think I heard something about they use the music to kind of condition the audience. So when the shark's around, they play the music, and then you start to get scared and know the shark's around. But later on in the film, like in the scene when they're pulling the rope back in to get the barrels, they don't play the music. And then when the shark comes out, it makes it even more of a jump scare, because by then the audience are so tuned in to hearing the that when the shark makes an appearance, you're not expecting it. So very, very clever use of music.
Yeah, it's one of the best directed films ever. Spielberg, the music brilliantly. I think he said 70% of this movie works because of the music. So it's a big aspect of the film. I know it's a totally different movie to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's scary to me because it's realistic.
Yeah.
I still don't like going in the sea because of this. I could talk about this film all day. There's so many great scenes, great moments, stuff like that, and I'm not surprised it's your number one, Bryn. It's a fantastic film. I'm eager to watch it again, actually, because my fiance came in and went, "Oh, are you watching Jaws without me?" So I think she wants to watch it again now. So we're probably going to watch it again soon. And I think I'll like it even better. I think it's definitely got a movie that's going to grow on me, because I had so many thoughts in my head after watching it that I want to go back and reprocess them. But yeah, fantastic film, mate. Anything else to say on Jaws? Or
oh, crikey, like you, I could talk about it all day, really. But no, I think just that what kind of makes me smile about Jaws as well is if you watch any kind of any other shark film or any kind of other killer animal film, what makes me laugh is they always use the same plot, whereas there's some kind of big event taking place that means they can't close the beach or the park or the woods, or it's like there's always something. And I think everyone seems to take that from Jaws, where you can't close things down because of political and financial reasons, and that always makes me smile when I watch other films.
yeah. Is this your number one film of all time, or your number one horror? I think it's your number one film, isn't it?
Yeah, both.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, mate. It's very critically acclaimed. It's the first big summer blockbuster as well, wasn't it? So, well, they claim it to be anyway, which is another fun fact for most people who know that anyway. But yeah, glad you picked that, mate. So, should we just sort of end the video there, or?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Okay, so that is our top 5 each horror movies of all time. Now, I do this with every guest who comes on, but the link to Bryn's description for his channel is down below. Sorry, the link is in the description down below for Bryn's channel. Definitely go over there and check him out. If you like horror, you will love his channel, I guarantee it. Thanks so much, Bryn, for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
No worries, mate. No worries. Thanks so much, everyone. If you want to check out more collaboration videos, they will be down below as well. And like I said, get over to Bryn's channel. You won't regret it. And if you want to comment about any of these movies, feel free. I'll reply to you all. I promise. Thanks so much, everyone. If you made it to the end of this video, I know it's a bit of a long one, but I love talking horror as much as Bryn does. So thanks, everyone. Take it all easy.
Thanks, guys.
Video.